Let me tell you something. Right now, in this moment, you are sitting at a crossroads. You can either let this pain define you or you can use it to recreate yourself. He left. He chose her. And what did that do to you? It shattered you. It made you question your worth. You replayed every single memory trying to figure out what she had that you didn't. You lost yourself in the pain. Listen to me. The version of you that got left behind, she is gone. Every time you think about him, you are keeping yourself stuck in an old reality that no longer exists. You are feeding an illusion, a ghost, a version of you that is no longer alive. And the only reason you still feel the pain is because you refuse to let her die. But today, you erase him from your identity. Because the truth is, it was never about him. It was about who you became when you were with him. You wrapped your identity around him. His words shaped your emotions. His validation dictated your worth. And when he left, it felt like he took a part of you with him. But let me ask you something. Who were you before you ever met him? Before you gave him access to your heart, before you started molding yourself to fit his world, before you started measuring your happiness by his attention, she still exists. The powerful, magnetic, unstoppable version of you is still inside. She is buried under the pain, the memories, and the illusion that you lost something. But what if I told you you didn't lose him? You lost you. And that's what we are here to change. You see, the mind is a trickster. It will make you believe that you need closure, that you need answers, that you need to prove something. But all of that is a lie. The only thing you need to do is wake up and realize that he was never the source of your power. He was just a distraction from it. When you were with him, you gave him the pen and let him write parts of your story. Now it's time to rip out those pages and start again. Not to rewrite the past, but to build a future so powerful that your past becomes irrelevant. This is where most people get stuck. They think moving on means slowly fading the memories. No. That's why so many people stay trapped for years, waiting for time to heal them. But time doesn't heal. Identity does. If you keep seeing yourself as the woman who is abandoned, you will continue to live in that reality. If you keep telling yourself the story of heartbreak, you will keep manifesting pain. If you keep viewing yourself through the lens of what he thought of you, you are still his prisoner. But the second you wake up and say, I don't know that girl anymore, everything changes, and I mean everything. Your energy changes, your aura changes, the way you carry yourself shifts. People start looking at you differently. Opportunities start coming out of nowhere. Life begins responding to you as if you are someone completely new, because you are. And let me warn you, when you do this, something wild happens. The moment you erase him from your identity, he will feel it. Maybe not consciously, maybe not immediately, but one day, out of nowhere, he will sense it. That grip he once had on you, gone. That power he held over your emotions, dissolved. And suddenly, he's wondering why you're not chasing him, why you're not waiting, why your energy is missing. Because men don't feel regret when you cry. They don't feel regret when you beg. They feel regret when your absence feels like a missing piece of their reality. But here's the best part. You won't care. Because the woman you are becoming has no room for the past. She is too busy evolving, growing, stepping into her power, and creating a life that makes her wonder why she ever settled for him in the first place. And that is when you win. Not because he regrets leaving, but because you realize it was never about him. Everything in this universe is energy. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every word you speak. It's all shaping the reality that you live in. And right now, the energy you are radiating is what's keeping you stuck. You are stuck in sadness, stuck in heartbreak, stuck in the illusion that you lost something. But the truth is, you are not stuck because of him. You are stuck because of the frequency you are operating on. When you think about him, you lower your vibration. You tell the universe, I am still attached, I am still waiting, I am still incomplete. And the universe gives you exactly what you embody. This is why he doesn't miss you. This is why he doesn't regret it yet. Because your energy is still chasing him, still giving him power. But the second you shift your energy, the game changes. You see, most people think attraction is about looks, words, or actions. It's not. It's about energy. It's about the frequency you are operating on. Have you ever noticed that when you desperately want something, it runs from you? But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop needing, suddenly it appears? That's because energy speaks louder than words. Right now, your energy is screaming, I need closure, I need answers, I need to be chosen. And that's why you are stuck. That's why he feels comfortable leaving. Because he knows on a deep level that he still has space in your mind. He still has space in your heart. But what happens when that space disappears? What happens when your energy no longer revolves around him? He feels it. He feels the void. Because the truth is, people don't regret losing a body. They regret losing energy. They regret losing the way you made them feel. And if you are still emotionally attached, even in pain, even in anger, he still feels connected. But the moment your energy shifts, the moment you become untouchable, something in him will wake up. And it will confuse him. Because he was expecting you to grieve longer. He was expecting you to hold on. He was expecting you to keep orbiting around him. But suddenly it's as if you've disappeared. As if your energy is no longer available. As if you don't care. And that is when the regret begins. But listen to me, this is not about making him suffer. This is not about playing games. This is about you stepping into your highest frequency, into your most magnetic, most radiant, most powerful self. Because the moment you do that, you don't just attract him back, you attract everything. New opportunities, new connections, new levels of success. Your entire reality begins to shift because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of loss. You are vibrating at the frequency of abundance. You are no longer desperate for validation. You are no longer attached to the past. You are no longer waiting for someone to choose you because you have already chosen yourself. And let me tell you what happens when a woman does that. She becomes irresistible, not just to him, but to the entire world. People feel it when you walk into a room. They sense it in the way you carry yourself. There is a glow in your eyes, a confidence in your voice, an aura so strong that it cannot be ignored. Pain has a way of making you believe that revenge is the answer, that making him regret, making him suffer, making him see what he lost will somehow heal you. But that's the trap. That's the illusion. The moment you try to get revenge, you are still playing his game. You are still letting him control your emotions. You are still giving him power over your life. And that is exactly what keeps you stuck. Because real power is not about making him hurt. Real power is when he no longer has access to you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Real power is when his choices no longer affect you, when his presence no longer triggers you. When his name is nothing more than a whisper in the wind, meaningless, weightless, powerless. The truth is, he expects you to be angry. He expects you to stalk his social media, to check if he's happy, to see if he's moved on. He expects you to throw indirects to try to make him jealous, to prove that you're better without him. But that only tells him you still care. That only confirms that he still has an effect on you. That only keeps him in a position of control. But when you detach completely, that's when he feels it. That's when he notices the silence. That's when something inside him shifts, because suddenly he's no longer the center of your world. Suddenly he's no longer part of your thoughts. Suddenly he realizes you have outgrown him, and that is what truly terrifies him. Not your anger, not your sadness, but your indifference. The moment you stop checking, stop caring, stop reacting, you become untouchable. You become the woman he cannot figure out, the woman he cannot read, the woman who was once so invested in him, but now it's as if he never existed. And that is when the regret starts, because he was prepared for everything except for losing his importance in your life. But this isn't about punishing him. This isn't about proving anything. This is about you, about rising so high, growing so much, becoming so powerful, that the thought of revenge doesn't even cross your mind, because your new life is too fulfilling, too beautiful, too abundant to waste a single second on the past. Most women get stuck because they focus on proving their worth to someone who already made their choice. But the truth is, the moment you stop proving, the moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you step into your own power, the tables turn, the dynamic shifts, the energy reverses. Because people don't feel the loss when you cry over them. They don't feel the loss when you try to replace them. They feel the loss when you evolve beyond them. When you become someone they can no longer reach. When you become so secure, so confident, so untouchable that their presence is no longer required in your story. And the best part? By the time he realizes it, by the time he feels the void, by the time the regret kicks in, you won't even care. This is the moment where everything changes, because now he is the one who feels the loss. He is the one questioning his decisions. He is the one wondering why your energy is missing from his life. And it doesn't matter if he's with someone new. It doesn't matter if he looks happy on the outside, because deep inside he feels something is off. The supply of energy he once had, gone. The control he once had over your emotions, solved. The attention, the love, the presence you once gave him, no longer his to receive. And that's when he starts watching. That's when he starts wondering. That's when he starts feeling something he didn't expect. Regret. Because you were never the one who lost. You were the prize all along. The woman he regrets losing is not the one who waits by the phone, not the one who cries herself to sleep, not the one who watches his every move hoping for a sign that he still cares. The woman he regrets losing is the one who disappears and comes back unrecognizable. The one who walks away so powerfully that her absence is louder than her presence ever was. The one who doesn't just move on, she ascends. She doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She doesn't play games. She rebuilds. She steps into the version of herself that was always waiting beneath the pain, beneath the heartbreak, beneath the illusion that she needed him to feel whole. She doesn't try to make him jealous, doesn't try to make him miss her, doesn't try to prove anything, because she is too busy becoming everything she was meant to be. She glows, not because she wants him to notice, but because she has reclaimed her power. She thrives, not because she wants revenge, but because she finally understands her worth. She doesn't look back, doesn't seek closure, doesn't need validation, because the moment she chose herself, she won the game. She is the woman who no longer needs external validation, because she has become her own source of love, her own source of strength, her own source of power. She is no longer available for meaningless conversations, for half-hearted love, for anyone who cannot rise to meet her at her new level. She no longer entertains what drains her. She no longer settles for less than she deserves. She no longer gives access to anyone who has not earned the right to stand beside her. And this is where everything shifts. This is where the regret begins. Because men don't regret losing a woman who waits, they regret losing a woman who evolves. A woman who disappears into her own transformation and comes back so radiant, so magnetic, so untouchable that he can barely recognize her. Not because she has changed for him, but because she has changed for herself. And when he finally looks back, when he finally realizes what he let go of, when he finally understands that she was the best thing that ever happened to him, he will see the harshest truth of all. She is gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The version of her that once loved him no longer exists. The version of her that once waited for him no longer lives here. And that's the moment he will feel it deep in his bones, deep in his soul, the weight of his mistake, because now he cannot reach her. Now he cannot fix it. Now he cannot undo what has been done. Because while he stayed the same, while he played the same games, while he repeated the same patterns, she became something greater. She became the woman he cannot replace, the woman he cannot forget, the woman who will haunt him in ways he never expected. But by the time he realizes it, by the time the regret sets in, by the time he understands what he lost, there will be nothing left for him to hold on to, because she has already moved on to a life beyond anything he could have given her. At first, you think about it every single day. You imagine the moment he realizes he made a mistake. You picture the regret hitting him like a storm. You fantasize about the day he comes back, the day he finally sees your worth, the day he begs for another chance. But what you don't realize yet is that by the time that moment comes, you won't even want him anymore, because you're still operating from a place of loss. You're still carrying the version of yourself who thought he was the best she could have. You're still measuring your worth by his attention, still seeing yourself through his eyes. But let me tell you something. Who you are becoming will not even recognize the woman who once cried over him. You won't be waiting for his apology. You won't be checking his social media. You won't be wondering if he misses you. Because the moment you fully step into your power, he stops being relevant. He stops being the center of your thoughts. He stops existing in the way he once did in your mind. And this is what will shock him the most, because he was expecting you to wait. He was expecting you to hold on. He was expecting you to still be there when he was finally ready. But by the time he wakes up, by the time he feels the emptiness, by the time he realizes what he lost, you will have outgrown him completely. Because the truth is, people only regret losing you when they feel that they can no longer reach you. They don't regret it when you cry. They don't regret it when you beg. They don't regret it when you wait. They regret it when your energy no longer belongs to them. When they look into your life and see a woman who is thriving, glowing, radiating a power they can no longer touch, they regret it when they see that you have built a world where they are not needed, where their validation is no longer required, where their absence has made no difference at all. They regret it when they finally realize that they were not as important as they once thought. And here's what will happen. One day, when you least expect it, he will come back. Maybe through a text, maybe through a call, maybe through some weak attempt to reconnect. He will test the waters. He will want to know if he still has access. He will want to see if he still matters. But by then, you will be so far removed from who you used to be that his presence will feel foreign. His words will sound empty. His attempt to come back will feel laughable. Because the woman he left no longer exists. The woman who once gave him everything is gone. The woman who once needed his love, his approval, his validation has been reborn. And the best part? You won't even be angry. You won't even need to prove anything. You won't even care. Because your life will be too full, your heart too healed, your energy too powerful to waste a single moment looking back. And that is the moment he will finally understand. The moment he will feel the weight of his mistake. The moment the regret will hit him in ways he never expected, but by then it will be too late. At first you believe that healing means finding a way to get back what you lost. You tell yourself that if he regrets it, if he apologizes, if he finally sees your worth, then everything will make sense. But that's where you're wrong. Because real healing doesn't come from his regret. Real healing doesn't come from his apology. Real healing happens when you no longer need it. You think the pain is about him, but it's not. The pain is about the part of you that attached your value to his presence. The pain is about the version of you that thought love meant holding on even when it hurt. The pain is about the illusion that someone else's validation could define your worth. But the moment you wake up, the moment you realize that you were the prize all along, the game changes. You won't need to prove anything. You won't need to make him see what he lost. You won't need to wait for the day he regrets leaving, because by the time that moment comes, you won't even care. You'll be too busy building a life so powerful, so abundant, so fulfilling that the past will feel like a distant memory, a lesson you outgrew, a chapter that no longer defines you. He will regret it. That much is inevitable, because the kind of woman who loves deeply, who gives her all, who stands by someone through everything, is the kind of woman a man never truly forgets. But by the time he realizes it, by the time the weight of his mistake finally hits him, he will be nothing more than a lesson you once had to learn. And here's the truth. The real revenge is not making him miss you. The real revenge is not making him suffer. The real revenge is never needing revenge at all. Because you have become untouchable. Because you have reached a level where his choices, his regrets, his mistakes are nothing more than whispers in the wind. Because you have stepped into the kind of power that no one can take away from you again. And this is what will haunt him the most. Not that you left, not that you moved on, but that he had access to a woman like you, and he let you go. That he was given something rare, something valuable, something irreplaceable, and he didn't recognize it until it was too late. And the moment that realization sets in, the moment he finally understands what he lost, you will already be gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You won't need his regret, because you will have outgrown the version of you that once needed him to see your worth. You won't need closure, because the moment you stepped into your power, you became the closure. You won't need anything from him, because everything you were seeking was already inside you. And by the time he realizes what he lost, by the time he wishes he could turn back time, by the time he finally understands what you were, you will be too busy becoming everything he was never ready for. The reason you feel stuck isn't because he was the best thing that ever happened to you. It isn't because he was your soulmate. It isn't because no one else will love you the way he did. The reason you feel stuck is because your mind is playing tricks on you. It's making you remember a version of him that never truly existed. It's making you cling to a love that was never as deep, as real, as once in a lifetime as you're making it seem. And until you see the truth, until you stop rewriting the past into something it never was, you will continue to suffer over someone who never truly deserved you. You keep replaying the best moments, the times he held you close, the times he made you laugh, the times you felt like you were the only person in the world that mattered to him. But what about the times he made you question yourself? What about the times you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if he really loved you? What about the moments he made you feel small, ignored your needs, took your presence for granted? Your mind is filtering out the pain because it wants to believe that what you had was special. But if it was truly special, you wouldn't be here trying to heal from it. If it was truly meant for you, you wouldn't be trying to force yourself to let go. He was not the fairy tale you're making him out to be. He was not the once-in-a-lifetime love that got away. He was exactly who he showed you he was. And if you're being honest with yourself, you always knew deep down that something wasn't right. You always felt the uncertainty, the moments of doubt, the uneasy feeling in your gut that told you this was not how love was supposed to feel. But you ignored it because you wanted so badly to believe in the version of him you created in your mind. And that's why it's so hard to move on. Not because he was irreplaceable, but because you're still holding on to the illusion. You're still holding on to the potential, the idea of what he could have been, the love you hoped he would give you if only he had changed. But let me tell you something. Who he was at the end is who he always was. The way he treated you when he no longer needed to impress you. The way he made you feel when he knew you weren't going anywhere. The way he left, the way he moved on so easily. That is the real him. That is the truth you need to accept. You are not mourning him. You are mourning the story you told yourself. You are grieving the future you imagined, the dreams you built around him, the person you believed he was going to become. But that future was never real. That dream was based on hope, not reality. And the longer you hold on to it, the longer you delay the life that is actually meant for you. Because the moment you stop rewriting the past, the moment you see him exactly as he was, the moment you stop putting him on a pedestal he never earned, you free yourself. You realize he was not your soulmate. He was your lesson. He was the mirror that showed you your wounds, your fears, your patterns, the parts of yourself that still needed healing. And that is why he came into your life. Not to stay, not to be your forever, but to be the wake-up call that pushes you into your highest self. He did not break you. He revealed to you the parts of yourself that were already wounded. He did not destroy your ability to love. He exposed the areas where you were already settling, already ignoring red flags, already giving too much to someone who wasn't giving enough in return. And now you have a choice. You can keep living in the illusion, keep romanticizing a past that wasn't as perfect as you think, keep waiting for closure that will never come, or you can wake up, you can see the truth, you can take back your power, because the real closure doesn't come from him realizing what he lost. It doesn't come from an apology. It doesn't come from him regretting his choices. The real closure comes the moment you no longer want him back. The moment you stop craving his attention, the moment you stop thinking of him as a loss and start seeing him as a blessing in disguise. He was not the love of your life. He was the stepping stone that pushed you toward the love of your life. The love you are meant to give yourself. The love that will never abandon you, never make you question your worth, never leave you waiting for someone to realize how valuable you are. The love that comes from within. The love that makes you whole before anyone else even enters the picture. And when you finally step into that love, when you finally stop looking back, when you finally see the past for what it really was, something incredible happens. You stop caring. You stop waiting. You stop wondering if he regrets it, if he misses you, if he ever loved you at all, because none of that matters anymore. The only thing that matters is that you finally see the truth. And the truth is you were never losing him. He was losing you. The fastest way to heal is not by waiting for an apology. It's not by hoping he realizes what he lost. It's not by sitting in your pain wondering when the regret will hit him. The fastest way to heal is by creating a life so full, so powerful, so undeniably incredible that you forget why you were even hurting in the first place. It's by making your life so vibrant, so filled with purpose, so aligned with your highest self, that the thought of him no longer holds any weight. You are not meant to spend your days obsessing over someone who walked away. You are not meant to sit in the past, replaying old memories, giving your energy to someone who is no longer giving theirs to you. Every single moment you spend thinking about him is a moment you are stealing from yourself. Every tear you shed, every thought you waste on him, every second you dedicate to analyzing what went wrong is energy that could be used to build the life of your dreams. He left, he made his choice, and now you get to make yours. You can choose to stay stuck, to dwell on what could have been, to keep waiting for something that will never come. Or you can choose to rise. You can choose to step into a version of yourself that is You can choose to build a life that makes you feel so alive, so fulfilled, so at peace that looking back no longer interests you. Because here's the truth. The best revenge is not making him jealous. The best revenge is not proving anything to him. The best revenge is not even about him at all. The best revenge is waking up one day and realizing you don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need him to regret anything, because you have built something greater, because you have become someone he can never reach again, because you have created a life where he is nothing more than a lesson you once had to learn. Focus on yourself like you never have before. Pour everything into your growth, your success, your happiness. Go after the dreams you put on hold for him. Travel to the places you always wanted to see. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher. Get so busy improving yourself, so dedicated to becoming the best version of you, that thinking about him becomes a waste of time. Because the moment you stop checking for him, the moment you stop waiting for him, the moment you stop caring about his regret is the moment the energy shifts. That's when he feels it. That's when the regret begins. Not when you cry, not when you beg, not when you post things to make him jealous. He regrets it when he realizes he no longer has access to you. He regrets it when he sees that you have built something that no longer includes him. He regrets it when he understands that the woman he once knew is gone, replaced by someone far beyond his reach. And here's what happens next. One day when you least expect it, he will try to come back. Maybe you'll send a simple text. Maybe he'll like your posts. Maybe he'll find some excuse to reach out to see if the door is still open. Because that's how they work. They don't regret it until they see that you don't need them anymore. They don't miss you until you've moved on. They don't feel the loss until they realize you have truly outgrown them. But by then, something powerful will have happened. You won't care. You won't need his attention. You won't feel that same pull toward him, because the woman he left is not the woman you are now. The version of you that once craved his love no longer exists. The version of you that once needed closure, needed answers, needed him to regret his choices, has been replaced by a woman who is too busy living to look back. And that is when he will truly feel it. That is when he will understand the depth of his mistake. Not when you cry, when he looks into your life and sees a woman who is radiant, fulfilled, unshaken by his absence. When he realizes he is no longer a thought in your mind. When he understands that he let go of something irreplaceable, and that no matter what he says, no matter what he does, he will never get another chance. And that is the moment you will understand that the real victory was never about making him regret anything. The real victory was always about becoming so powerful, so free, so deeply in love with yourself and your life that his choices no longer have any effect on you, because by then you won't need him to regret anything. You will be too busy living a life he will never be a part of again. You are not a waiting room. You are not a backup plan. You are not here to put your life on pause while a man decides if you're worth coming back to. The biggest mistake you can make is sitting in limbo, checking your phone, stalking his social media, wondering if he's thinking about you, hoping he wakes up one day and realizes he made a mistake. Because the longer you wait for his regret, the more power you give him over your life. And the truth is, the moment someone chooses to walk away, you should never make the mistake of waiting for them to return. You are not a woman who should be waiting. You are not a woman who should be hoping for breadcrumbs of attention from someone who threw away the whole meal. Every second you spend waiting for him to miss you is a second stolen from your future. It's a second you could have spent building something greater, stepping into your power, becoming the kind of woman who doesn't sit around hoping a man will one day appreciate her. Because that's not who you are. That's not who you were born to be. If he was meant for you, he wouldn't have put you in this position. If he truly valued you, he wouldn't have risked losing you. The right man doesn't have to lose you to appreciate you. The right man doesn't leave in the first place. And yet here you are, still wondering if he's going to realize what he lost. Still wondering if he's thinking about you. Still wondering if one day, weeks, months, maybe even years from now, he will regret everything and come running back. But let me tell you something. Whether he regrets it or not doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is when will you realize you don't need him to. The day you stop waiting, the day you stop checking, the day you stop wondering if he still cares is the day you take back your power. Because as long as you're waiting for his regret, you're still trapped in his world. You're still letting him dictate how you feel. You're still living in the shadow of a love that didn't choose you. And that is not where you belong. You belong in a life where you are chosen every single day. You belong in a world where you don't have to question your worth, where you don't have to beg someone to see your value, where you don't have to sit and wonder if you're still on his mind. The truth is, you are not an option. You were never an option. You are the prize. You are the kind of woman that a man either realizes was the best thing that ever happened to him, or he spends the rest of his life wondering why he was foolish enough to walk away. And either way, it's not your problem. Because the moment he left, he gave up the right to have any control over you. He gave up the right to be the person who affects your mood. He gave up the right to be the one who determines your happiness. But as long as you wait for his regret, as long as you sit around hoping he sees your worth, you are still making him the main character in your story. You are still giving him a role in your life that he no longer deserves. You are still acting like he has the power to define your happiness, and that is the greatest lie you have ever told yourself. Because your happiness was never supposed to come from him. Your sense of worth was never supposed to depend on his attention. And the moment you decide that you are done waiting, that you are done caring, that you are done wondering what he thinks or how he feels, you will feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Freedom. That freedom will change everything. That freedom will remind you who you are. That freedom will bring you back to yourself. And when you finally stop waiting for him, when you finally stop hoping for his regret, when you finally realize that his choices no longer have anything to do with you, that is when the tables turn. That is when you become the one who is untouchable. Because the truth is, he expects you to wait. He expects you to be there when he gets bored, when he needs validation, when he realizes that the grass wasn't greener. He expects you to still be thinking about him, still be affected by him, still be wishing he would come back. And the moment he realizes that you're not, the moment he realizes that you've moved on, that you've grown, that you've become someone he can no longer reach, that is when the regret will hit him the hardest. But by then you won't care. By then you won't be waiting for his regret, because you'll be too busy living a life that makes his absence irrelevant. By then you'll look back and realize that the real mistake wasn't losing him, it was ever believing that you needed him in the first place. Because the truth is, the only person who should regret anything here is him. And when you finally stop waiting, when you finally step into your power, when you finally realize that you are never an option, you will become the one that got away, and he will never get another chance. His absence is not a curse. It is not a punishment. It is not proof that you weren't enough. His absence is a gift, a doorway, an awakening, the exact thing you needed to become the person you were always meant to be. Because the truth is, you were never going to reach your full potential with him in your life. You were never going to rise into your power while holding on to someone who was draining it. You were never going to step into the highest version of yourself while settling for a love that didn't match your energy. You think you lost something, but what if you were actually set free? What if this was the universe stepping in, removing him from your life, not to hurt you, but to push you towards something greater? You could have stayed in that relationship for years, shrinking yourself, lowering your standards, accepting less than you deserved, waiting for him to change, waiting for him to see your worth, waiting for him to finally love you the way you needed to be loved. But now, you don't have to wait anymore. Now, you don't have to convince anyone of your value. Now, you don't have to beg for love. You get to build something new. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like you're standing in the ruins of something you once believed in. But ruins are the perfect place to start over. Ruins are where new empires are built. And right now you have a choice. You can sit in the ashes crying over what could have been, or you can rise from it stronger, wiser, untouchable. Because his absence is an opportunity. It is space for you to grow, to heal, to expand in ways you never could when you were too busy chasing, fixing, overgiving, over-explaining, trying so hard to make something work that was never meant to. His absence is your chance to finally focus on yourself. To finally pour all the energy, all the love, all the effort you wasted on him back into yourself. To level up in every way possible. To create a life that feels so full, so exciting, so overflowing with joy that looking back no longer interests you. Because the reality is, you never needed him. You never needed his love, his attention, his validation. You just needed to wake up to your own power. You just needed to stop looking for your worth in someone else's hands. You just needed to see yourself clearly for the first time in your life, and now you can. Now you have that chance. Now you have the space to become so aligned, so focused, so in love with yourself that you realize he was never the source of your happiness. He was the obstacle standing in the way of it. And when you finally step into that realization, when you finally understand that his absence was a gift, when you finally stop seeing this as a loss and start seeing it as the best thing that ever happened to you, something incredible happened. You stop hurting, you stop wondering, you stop replaying the past, stop craving closure, stop hoping he regrets it, because you no longer need him to. You have outgrown him. You have outgrown the version of yourself that wanted him. You have outgrown the idea that he was ever necessary for your happiness. And that's when the real magic begins. That's when your energy shifts. That's when you start attracting everything you once thought you needed from him, but from yourself. That's when new doors open, new opportunities come rushing in, new people enter your life who don't need to be convinced of your worth because they see it from the start. That's when you realize that you were never meant to spend your life waiting for a man to love you correctly. You were meant to build something so powerful, so unshakable, so extraordinary that no man's absence could ever shake you again. Because when you finally understand that his absence was your gift, not your punishment, you stop looking for the past to fix itself. You stop needing answers. You stop waiting for anything to change, except yourself. You stop looking back at the closed door and start running toward everything that was meant for you all along.